Hi, just an update on market direction for today, the 12th of November, um, going into the 13th of November tomorrow, and then just some updating on Strive and GME. So just quickly, late into the day with about half an hour to go, I took a position in the Qs just because the Qs had been sold off and we weren't seeing much movement in the mag, not a lot of buying in the mag, and it looked like it was going to hold out. Here we can see just quickly we had a balanced day, a tiny little bit of a buy into the close, but generally it was really just a buy when we dipped down into that tight liquidity again, and that has been, I've seen that present in the open interest that came out today. We didn't see any real increase in hedging. We just didn't have a strong buy afternoon. So we will, being coming into the last period, we are now well and truly into charm for the period. So that is theta burning in the puts that have been purchased. And that theta burning means that we've got a constant bid, apart from the other drivers for liquidity in the market. Here we can see a gain in the SPX. We had a buying during the dip and then selling into the afternoon. The same with the SPXL. Let's just quickly have a look. Here's the mags, and Google had a poor day, a little bit of buying into the close with Amazon after a selling day. I did note that yesterday that it was expected that we would see really only we had only had true strength in Apple and Google didn't show up at all. And Microsoft had a little bit of buying into the close, and we saw a good day in Microsoft, and again had a bit of buying into the close. The thing that I missed in Tesla yesterday was coming into the close was this rising liquidity, and I've missed it. We just had deep liquidity from the drop the day before, and I've missed that rising liquidity coming through. If we just have a look at the Qs we could see with this strong selling. So during the day we drifted up, and then that was sold as we got into the day. The NDX2 had a little bit of a buy in it. It's not as big a player. The Qs again, they had some strong selling in the TQs. The QM had a better day. It looked like it was going to be up, but it's really just another one of the proxies. And we did see some selling into the close, or some selling all of the day. A little bit of a buy into the close in the NAS, and here we can see the MAG's liquidity down below, and the MAG did have a selling day yesterday into this closing period here, and we've seen that played out today. If we just have a quick look at the MAGs, we can see that here in the MAG itself, the ETF, that it had some selling rising up into the close, and that was definitely going to. And here, this is the group of the mags again, and we can see that selling drifting up. I tend to think that will happen today, but I will be closing the shorts that I put on at 6:08 and at 6:15, about 20 minutes before the close. Just enough buying to here in the Qs as we closed in, where if we saw 20 minutes or a half an hour before the close, there wasn't that much to see. All right, let's have a look at Strive. Strive we saw selling through yesterday after dropping down. There was some rising liquidity in the day before, which probably was missed into the close. It did look like it was going to open up a little bit stronger than it did. It's probably been affected by some of the dispersion around the index as the index was still rising. Well, indexes are still rising, but yesterday we had selling most of the day and not enough compression to really hold it up. So today had a little bit of a buy, but really it was sold into the close, and I'd expect to see more selling into the close. Strive is an interesting stock. It's not exactly the same play as we have seen in GME, but it's a similar play over the last period. It started its journey a long time ago, being played as a stock in this squeeze market, and we can see when we get these big builds that we then end up getting a big squeeze. Is this build a bigger build than the previous ones? I don't know. There is a lot more being gamed here because there's some optionality being used. It became optionable. Not that long ago here at the end of May, the start of June. We started to see stocks in it, and you can see options in it. We really haven't seen a lot of options in it, and then we've had this huge vol spike on the 27th. Now, we've all probably jumped in a little bit late, and I think that it may well be being sold at the moment. These are puts here in the red being sold. If we go and have a look at all the positions in the shorter dated options, we can see that the shorter dated options really were just creeping along. There wasn't a lot. There was 31,000. Then all of a sudden on the 22nd, at the start of the new month, we jumped up and we had over 100,000. So we'd gone 3 times the number of stocks. That increase in the needs for gamma gave the stock this great big squeeze that we saw going into this period here that finished on the 27th, 28th, and then on the 27th and the 28th, we saw a big increase in puts and some out of the money calls being placed, and that's been slowly diminishing as the stock has sunk back in price, and we've now taken a lot of those gamma positions off. If we went and had a look at what really happened this week, we can see here at the end of last week that a lot of positions came off, and we've really just been deflating since then. A lot of that gamma has rolled through. Now, interestingly, if we put the dispersion index up above, we'll see that we have a lot of dispersion in the indexes here, and as there's been rising, we have had some serious buying in Strive when it was right down at a low price here. I don't actually know how low the price was. It started off down here at about the 55 cents mark, and then just in the common stock, this first squeeze was just common stock going through, and we didn't really start to see a squeeze happening again until into July. And that aligned with the bottom of the DSPX. And the bottom of the DSPX here is a time when there is the least dispersion in the market. These high points are when there's most dispersion in the market. So we've had the least dispersion in the market. And as that dispersion has increased, we have seen it being in this iteration of the dispersion, we've seen it dispersed into stocks like Strive. There hadn't been many other stocks for to be pushed around that I have seen so far that were being pushed around. In this recent period here, we didn't see that problem. We had Open doing a lot of the dispersion and the quantum computers. So if I just added to this one more level, let's just put in just a quantum stock. I'll just add it in above. Just excuse me 1 second. So we can see that we've had a lot of dispersion here and a lot of money, a very large amount of billions of dollars have flown into the quantum computing sector, and that has meant that we've had this very large dispersion, and so the DSPX has rose as there has been good dispersion around the indexes, and we haven't seen any need to use these little stocks. Well, we're hunting down again. We're heading down again, and we'll be looking for some new stocks. But at the moment, we've got another run happening. On Open. And so Open is doing a lot of the vol compression at the moment in a market which is stalling. And you can see that they're working against each other. We can see that this last dispersion in the markets, when we came through the bottom, that Open was part of it, and so was Strive part of it. Interesting to see that Open is another one of the stocks which, people are suggesting all sorts of things about it, but it's really just being gamed by dispersion within the market and players around the market realizing that they can go, when there is compression of vol, they can go and make a bid. That is just about to start happening again as we see that compression happening, vol compression happening within the Mag 7 as they drift sideways, and there's not much price difference. At the moment, they're just alternating between the different stocks. They're not sinking themselves, they're just alternating, chopping and changing from one day to the next. The market makers are using them. When that starts failing, we will start to see these dispersion stocks rising again, and hopefully we'll pick up on them using one of our tools. We have a good little tool here. We've just picked up on a couple of the movers recently. We've seen XPES of doing some moving, so we have looked at open interest, volume and DPI as our data sources. We've looked through all of the stocks that we follow, and we can just quickly pick up and we can see that Real had good dispersion happening in it the last couple of days, and that was picked up within our data, and it's had not as good a day today, but it had a really good day into its earnings. Quickly, you note that its earnings was successful earnings. It didn't have anything holding it back. In the hourly, we had no hedging which was going to hold it back, and then on the day we just look at the 15 minutes, and when we look through, we didn't see really any buying of hedging going through the day, and so we get this wonderful bang up, and I think it was in there we go, it was a 25-30% day. Great tool to be able to use to go and locate those things. Again, just a quick one, we saw XPEV, which is one of the big motor companies in China, and again it's been distributing its compression around the market, and that's another thing that has been holding the stocks flat, is that we've had these other vehicles for the dispersion that we have not been seeing the last 2 or 3 days in the indexes. Anyway, that's my little update. So let's instead of thinking that Strive is some mega new stock or Open some mega stock, these are just dispersion stocks, very similar to GME. The most important thing to do is to spot them. I think GME has been done. I have a feeling that we might have seen the top of Strive as well, but let's just watch and see what comes up and follow along, and hopefully we'll pick some of them up in our research tool. Thank you very much for listening. It's Bruce from Naked Delta, looking through our liquidity and our charting tools at open interest and action within the open interest. Thank you very much.